lot of this stuff is pre-code, which means Betty Boop's pretty sexy. Did Fleischer have code issues when the code started being enforced, which was like, what, 1934?
Yes, absolutely. That's when you'll notice there are some Betty Boop cartoons where she has a Peter Pan collar, and you can no longer see her garter, and she's making pies. That's a post-code kind of cartoon. She wasn't allowed to date, actually, a dog anymore. That was frowned upon. So you have someone like Fearless Freddy taking a larger role.
How dare they
a male figure
keep her from dating her dog?
Yeah.
So you two are part of a company called Fabulous Fleischer Cartoons Restored. Do you want to start off by talking about how that came together? It was pretty recent, right? Was it in like 2020 that you guys formed this company?
Yeah. I have a merchandise company that I started. Essentially, started celebrating progressive rock bands like Yes and Genesis. I'm a bit of a nerd with that. And then I kind of realized, like, wait a minute, I could do merchandise of other stuff that I love, that I want to promote. So I started licensing Three Stooges, Gumby, Groucho Marx, stuff that I grew up watching as a kid in the 90s, through old public domain tapes, Little Rascals and stuff. But when I would go out and sell this stuff at conventions, I would notice that the parents would get more excited about this stuff than the kids. Apparently kids have no clue that Betty Boop has cartoons. They just see her as like a fashion icon, or, when they look at Gumby, they think he's a dog toy because, right now he's really popular with dogs.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's a disconnect here, why don't kids know about this stuff? Like, what's going on? And of course, with like, we're competing with TikTok and YouTube and all this sort of stuff. And one thing I noticed with like Warner Brothers or Disney, they'll always find an excuse to celebrate their properties. They'll have an anniversary like every year, and nothing was really happening for the Fleischers. And with those cartoons specifically, even through bad public domain prints, through cassettes, and eventually through DVDs, they really stand out. You could really tell how beautifully animated this stuff is. Popeye specifically, did we show a Popeye? Yes. We did, okay. Awesome. Those are just so funny. The ones that I grew up watching were Sinbad and Alibaba, and with those specifically, they have these 3D background sets that just look phenomenal. Like I said, even through bad prints, VHS prints. But long story short, yeah, I was like, hey, where are these cartoons? How come they're not being restored? The company, Fleischer Studios, which Claire's family runs, they're active, but they mostly promote, merchandise and the Betty brand. I connected with Jane Fleischer, who's Max Fleischer's granddaughter, and I said, hey, where can we find these cartoons? Let's figure this out. Turns out they're all at Paramount. Paramount Pictures, who was the studio that distributed this stuff, still has the original negatives to the Betty Boops, the Color Classics. They don't have Popeye or Superman. That's all with Warner Brothers. But now with this merger, they all are under one roof. Hey. But yeah, with Paramount specifically, the way they work is like they have a set budget for films that they can restore. They got a bunch of great films, Godfather, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and all this sort of stuff. With the short specifically, they don't have a team to work on that. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of stuff. They even have material for the Terrytoons, which is like Mighty Mouse, Heckle and Jekyll. So essentially what we came to them and proposed was like, hey, we want to do screenings. We want to get these cartoons back out there. How about we do an exchange? We work something out where we get your scans. You scan them. You send the raw scans. They're raw, like negative files. Our team restores them. We do screenings. You guys get final files. You guys get them preserved. And then we just do our thing. We're getting Paramount's name back out there. We're getting the cartoons back out there. And so far, it's been phenomenal. I think at this point, over 200 cartoons that were, already restored. Something aside from this that I'm doing, I'm restoring the Gumby episodes. I found the owners, and with that as well, it's like, yeah, nobody's doing anything with this stuff. But yeah, essentially.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to hear that Paramount was open to that, because I know that Fleischer had a very contentious relationship with Paramount for many years, but I guess maybe enough years have passed that that sort of thing doesn't really exist with their current leadership.
Everyone died.
Okay.
Um,
That's kind of what I was alluding
the
to.
reality is, it's been 100 years. Everybody who was involved in the stuff that may or may not have illegally happened, the burning of contracts that Paramount may or may not have done, is dead. They're all gone. There's no record of what went on. At this point, they have the files. They have all of the shorts, and we're still here too. So we're just in communication and working with them. New generations have come through. We're still a family company. Paramount is not. We're happy to work with them.
So is I know you guys have been doing screenings like this one around town. Is the idea that you would eventually put out DVD or Blu-ray of the restored material?
Funny you mentioned that. Yeah, that's the number one request is when are we going to get these on Blu-ray? And we just announced our Blu-ray. It's at my website. I sell merchandise. I'm wearing one right now. Claire's wearing a shirt. Rockandpins.com.
Rock and Pins.
I have the Blu-ray. I'm giving out people free pins and stuff for buying it. But the way I envision this stuff is like, put out a mix, because there's been other releases of this stuff. There was a company named Olive that put out the Blu-rays for Betty Boop. But as we were working on them, we figured out that the aspect ratio was wrong. Some of the images was cut off. So we had to redo everything. And our first volume is a mix of, a wide range of Fleischer stuff. So you got Superman in there, you got Popeye, Betty Boop, Coco. What we're really trying to do is just get people to remember this stuff. Say, hey, I remember this, watch it with my grandma, my dad, my mom. But yes, we're going to put them on Blu-ray and just get them back out in the world. It's awesome.
So do you know what percentage of Fleischer's work still exists, like in some iteration, whether restored or not, and what percentage is completely lost? Are there things that are completely lost?
There's like a handful of stuff that's lost. The stuff that's mainly hard to find are the original Coco the Clown films, because that was pre-Paramount.
Was that the Out of the Inkwell series? That
Out of the Inkwell. Was there an Out of the Inkwell in this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It was the clown's brother, right? Yeah. Clown's little brother or something.
Okay, cool. So you guys saw like the rotoscope and the rotograph, which is where they put live action with the animated cartoon. So what's really cool is I grew up watching Roger Rabbit and thinking, oh man, this is, they're doing it first. But then when you see like the Fleischers doing it in the, I think that's like 1919? 1920. So, and they were doing experiments in the 1918s, 1919s, which is a great connection with Film Independent. They were super independent. They were doing this all on their own. I think the way they established their company was Dave won a horse race bet. I think it was like 1,500 or something like that. And they invested that into the Fleischer company because there was nothing before them. They had to create the rotoscope. They had to create the rotograph. They were pioneers. There wouldn't be a Disney or Looney Tunes without the Fleischers. And that's really another main goal of mine is to get people to acknowledge how important the Fleischers were. One thing that I'm really proud of is, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Twitter. Like if you put if you write something, you could get fact checked and said, hey, no, actually this is wrong. Disney, the official Disney account, we're like celebrating the first sound on film, Steamboat Willie, whatever. It got that community noted and said, no, actually the Fleischers were doing this and all that. So there's a lot of stuff that people don't know about the Fleischers that I want to get out there. And quite frankly, I want people to get inspired by this. Everybody's so inundated with Disney or all this stuff. When you look at what the Fleischers were doing, so psychedelic, so trippy, so amazing. They got so many fans. I think like Danny Elfman's a huge fan. Tim Burton's a fan. So yeah, it's just celebrating this stuff.
Well, and I think Coco was rotoscoped Dave Fleischer, right? Dressed as a clown. Didn't
Yes.
Dave have a job where he played a clown somewhere or something?
Yeah, he had a spare clown costume, and I am related to that clown. Yeah, that's Dave. I don't like looking at the pictures of him. It's super weird. Um, they were a strange family. It was 5 brothers. Dave and Max were the ones who really started the family, but then there were others: Lou, Charlie, and the other one,
Did Lou
Joe.
did Lou do some of the music?
Lou did do the music.
Okay.
He worked with a lot of musicians in New York at the time. That's where we got the relationships with people like Cab Calloway to come in and work with us on some of the cartoons.
There's a rumor that Lou was the voice of Wimpy. Is that true?
I think that might have been Jack Mercer
Oh, okay.
who does it. Yeah.
I'll
But-
gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Yeah. I think actually too one of the brothers invented the claw machine. So Charlie, yeah. So that shows you, how inventive they are.
A lot of innovation. There was also with the Ethel Merman one was in this where you like follow the dots, the sing along. That was invented
yeah.
by the Fleischers too.
Bouncing
Yeah,
ball,
the
yeah.
bouncing ball.
And what's funny, in the 90s, Disney then took that idea and did the sing-along bouncing cartoons. And I think they also released on VHS something called Fleischer Folio. So Disney was putting out like public domain, they thought were public domain episodes of the Fleischer. They ended up getting sued by Paramount because they weren't public domain. So
Okay.
Disney doing their little sneaky.
So let's talk
stuff.
about public domain with regard to Fleischer. Is some of Fleischer's work in the public domain now?
Oh yeah, a lot of it.
Okay.
What's really helpful with us is because a lot of those films were in the public domain, so they've been seen by millions of people, through VHS or DVD or whatever. Because they've seen it as kids, it's so stuck in their head. Like for example, Cobweb Hotel is one that's just embedded in my brain since I was a kid. And then when you reintroduce it, like in a new restoration or something, people's minds get blown. They're just like, oh my God, I totally remember that and all that. So public domain really has been helping us, get that audience.
Is public domain when something reaches 100 years old? Is that when it enters, or is it
That
something
and
else?
also,
Because some of
if you
Disney,
forget
the
to,
earliest Mickey Mouse iterations are technically in public domain too, right?
Yeah, there's
99.
original copyright law was shorter because copyright law is still very new. Speaking, so it's still pretty new, and so copyright law started to run out, and then Disney came in and said, "Hold on, we're not done making money off this." And so they went through and they pushed the laws further, so that it does go to 99 years. And once that 99 years is up, there is no further action, except you can trademark around it.
Okay.
And that's what's happening right now with a lot of different characters. So the cartoons themselves do go into public domain, but the actual
Right.
characters are then trademarked beyond that. So there's
Okay. That's what I have been coming
A lot of
to
complication.
kind of understand about this is that there's a difference between the content and the characters.
yes, and
You can
copyright
hold on to the
trademark.
rights to the
Yeah.
characters for longer.
Yes.
Also, if some of the films weren't registered or forgot to be re-registered, for example, all the Superman films that they did, they're all in the public domain because, for whatever reason, they forgot to register them. And this was after Paramount. This was when they were doing television. There were a lot of films were being, sold to this company and that company and all that. And that's how we're getting to restore the Superman because Warner Brothers really hasn't been as helpful with us with getting a lot of this stuff out there. So we have to find prints of our own and, do our stuff by ourselves. So, but yeah.
We were talking out there earlier about your website and how you have all this merch and how a lot of the Coco stuff is sold out.
Oh, yeah.
How did Coco start to become like such a popular character amongst the youths?
There was a music video from a rapper named Ghostbane.
Okay.
They put it on YouTube. I think at this point it's got like 70 million views on it. It's essentially a clip of that scene, him dancing. But because the cartoons were set to music, so if you notice, like they're bobbing up and down, that's because they're going to the beat of the track. So with that cartoon, it's rotoscope Cab Calloway, but then if you put your own music to it, it looks like he's dancing along to it.
Got it.
So when the newer, generation of kids see this Ghostbane track and this clown turns into a ghost and it's like matching perfectly,
Right.
it just they go crazy for it, and then through that, that's how I was like, hey, who's this clown? I've never heard of this guy, because you know I knew
I didn't
Betty
know who
Boop.
Coco was either.
And when I had the license with the Fleischer, I still have it. But when I told him like, hey, could I like use this clown? Like, do you guys doing anything with him? I was like, yeah, go for it. Like, who cares? Like, whatever. And I did it, and from that up until now, I think he outsells Betty like 3-1. Like, it's crazy how popular he is. And I mean, right now with you got Terrifier, you got Pennywise, you got who else?
Clowns are big.
Clowns are big right now.
That particular clip's from like the Betty Boop Snow White, right?
Yeah,
Which I
before
watched.
Disney.
Which I watch is so trippy. That's what I love about so many Fleischer films is they're weird, and I love it.
Oh yeah.
And I was trying to think, like what is it that stands out about this animation to me? I mean, one thing definitely is the embrace of jazz. The embrace of jazz and jazz singers and the whole jazz age. When you watch those, you feel like you're watching the 1920s culture. You're seeing the culture of the 1920s, and you're hearing the music of the 1920s. It's so immersive. My little brother, my parents one year as a stocking stuffer got like a $2 DVD of Betty Boop cartoons, and my brother was immediately addicted to it and played it 24/7. So my whole entire family, my whole family knew all the song. Like one of the shorts was Betty Boop and Grampy. So over at Grampy's house, just like knew all the song. Like she did a song where she was like, yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yo, I carry a rope around wherever. It was like, I still know those songs like 35 years later. So I agree with you. I think they are a phenomenal piece of our history, as deserving as any animation that's been created. I don't know. Do you guys agree? I'm interested to know what was people's exposure to these characters. Was it via television? Television mostly? Yeah, VHS.
Yeah, there's they just announced the LA Conservancy. What do they call it? Last remaining seats. Right. Yeah, we showcase our shorts before each one of their films. So yeah, look out for that. We're gonna do stuff with them.
One film that used to play a lot when I was a kid was the one called Hoppity Comes to Town.
Yeah, that's their second feature film, which we are working on restoring. Yeah, and funny enough, the Miyazaki people over in Japan, that was a huge inspiration to him, and we just did a screening of that film in January. I think they played it a couple of times, so they love it in Japan. So we're trying to do a proper screening, because I believe when it came out, that's when Pearl Harbor happened.
It was some bad timing.
Yeah, so we're gonna try and give it a proper screening, and we'll keep it between us, right? I know we're being recorded, but we're in the process. We got hit up by Francis Ford Coppola's team. We're going to be working on Gulliver's Travels as well. Which is their
I was
first
going to
feature.
ask, what's the status of the two features that Fleischer made, which was Gulliver's Travels and Bug Goes to Town?
Yeah.
Right.
I think in England it's called like Mr. Bug.
Do those need restored as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to work on that and give them a proper theatrical screening. That's going to be awesome.
So I know you've been telling me that you did a screening at the Lodge Room, and I know you've done one at Vidiot's. Do you have other screenings coming up that you're doing?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I have our next one is going to be at the Fine Arts in Beverly Hills, just down the road on Wilshire, on April 18th. That's going to be a really fun one. It's going to be another screening of cartoons. And then there's unrelated to this, I'm going to plug this. On the 11th at the Fine Arts in Beverly Hills, there's going to be a double feature of Max's son's films. Richard Fleischer, my grandfather, was also a director. He directed 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Compulsion. So we're going to be screening both of those with, again, myself and my Aunt Jane, his daughter, in a Q&A there as well. And then if you
And Soylent Green.
Soylent Green, yeah. We're not double featuring that one, but he did do that one.
How old were you when you knew Soylent Green was people?
I actually haven't seen the movie, and I know Soylent Green's people. I've known that, I think, as long as I've known myself. No, if you want to hear more about the screenings that are coming up, and we do have a lot going on, I would check in on our website, fleischertunes.com. On our events page, there's everything coming up that we have booked and the theater has on their website. I'm personally the one getting those up on Monday nights as my job part 2, since part 1 is here at Film Independent as the membership manager. I'll also add just briefly that this project here is fiscally sponsored by Film Independent. So if you do want to support what we're doing, we're found under Adopt a Tune on the fiscal sponsorship page, and you can also access that from our website as well.
So are these screenings the first time that the restored versions of these films are being seen? Are they kind of premieres?
We did a premiere because what we're trying to do is, because they're so important, we want to get as much hype as possible. So we've been doing screenings like at MoMA over in New York, doing the debuts over there, or doing debuts at silent film festivals and stuff like that. So we save new restorations for those type of places. But yeah, I mean, because we're getting stuff straight from the negative, no one's ever seen stuff straight from the negative in regards to the Fleischer. So yeah, people are seeing these for the first time in the way they were meant to be seen.
Right.
So yeah, it's thrilling. It's really awesome.
I was telling Mauricio that I did watch some of these that you saw tonight on YouTube, and Small Fry, the version that's on YouTube, when he goes into the cave, you can't see any of the fish that are in the cave on the version that's on YouTube. Wow. So when I watched the restored version, I was like, wow. So it is a huge difference with these. They look spectacular. So
do you know the Fine Arts Theater, we're doing greatest hits like 4 or something, 3?
I have no recollection of what we're screening.
I don't think we're going to show this one, but at the Fine Arts Theater, I think tickets are like less than $1. We're doing like a special thing with them. And yeah, it's a whole new batch of films. Like essentially what we do is we create different blocks. So we have fairy tales or spooky surreal or greatest hits, volumes and stuff. So every screening that we do is completely different each quarter. Monday we did a silent showcase. So at the Lodge Room, it's like this rock venue. We had a guy named Cliff Ritalik who performed the piano, but he did that all off the top of his head. He just like watched the cartoons on screen and just like played. People just love that, and we're gonna hopefully try and do more of that stuff. Aside from Coco, I'm also working on restoring like Felix the Cat, Mutt and Jeff, the old Terry tunes and stuff. But yeah, it's just wild that this stuff's getting ignored and forgotten. So,
my last question, if we can squeeze it in really quick, will you let us, Donnie? Thank you. Is a lot of this stuff is pre-code, which means Betty Boop's pretty sexy. Did Fleischer have code issues when the code started being enforced, which was like, what, 1934?
Yes, absolutely. That's when you'll notice there are some Betty Boop cartoons where she has a Peter Pan collar, and you can no longer see her garter, and she's making pies. That's a post-code kind of cartoon. That's when they had Grampy come in, and he became a much larger figure. They have cartoons that are just Grampy, and they started focusing on the bimbo relationship, which is her little dog. Well, I guess, yeah. She wasn't allowed to date, actually, a dog anymore. That was frowned upon. So you have someone like Fearless Freddy taking a larger role.
How dare they
a male figure
keep her from dating her dog?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
The precursor to Betty Boop as we know her, she was a lounge singing dog in Dizzy Dishes is the cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a best of Betty Boop at the Dynasty Typewriter.
Oh yeah, in May.
So that has the early dog ones, and then it goes into Revolution. If you guys want to check that out. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, you guys, for coming. I find this all so fascinating, but also just makes me want to cry because I'm so glad that people are going to be able to see these and see like your beautiful restored versions. I'm just glad that you care about it as much as, as I do and a lot of other people do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for being members. I have to say that for my job.